Does Shaun of the Dead hold up 20 years later? Well, today we're going to talk about it, so let's get spooky. Greetings, everyone. My name is Nightshade. This is The Night Shift, a home for all things spooky, and today we're going to be talking about Shaun of the Dead, released in 2004. It is so mind-boggling to me that it has already been 20 years since the release of this film, and I'm feeling a little bit old right now. Oh, time flies by entirely too fast. I'll be dead before you know it. But enough existential crisis, we've got a review to do. Now, Shaun of the Dead is definitely more of a comedy than it is a horror movie, but it is close enough in the realm of horror that I feel like I can justify doing a review on that film, and we're going to. Now, I saw this movie for the very first time with my dad. We had a Friday tradition where he would pick me up from my mom's house, and then we would go to a movie theater, watch a movie, and then go to his house and jam out on guitar. And we never really necessarily had a plan as far as watching a movie. We just showed up at the movie theater, whatever sounded good, we would check it out. And Shaun of the Dead was one of those movies that we never intended to go see, but it was at the movie theater, so we checked it out and had an amazing time. It's one of those movies that really caught me by surprise because, you know, I didn't know a whole lot about it. I don't even think I saw a trailer before the first time I watched it. I remember leaving the theater with my dad going, you know what? That was actually really good, because going to see a movie that you have no idea what it's about and then leaving like, I am so glad that we watched that movie, that's usually a good sign. But does it hold up 20 years later? Well, today we're going to talk about that with the review of Shaun of the Dead. So I am super eager to get into this, so let's go ahead and break it down real quick. I'm going to break this down into two categories, the positives and the negatives, the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like. But as per all of my reviews, we always start off with the positives. Now, this movie has a lot of positives, and I mean a lot of positives. The positive list on this is bigger than any positive list on any of my other reviews that came before, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started with the first positive, which is the story. Not just the story, but the storytelling as well, the way they deliver the story to us, the audience. We follow Shaun, who is sort of an underachieving person, kind of gliding along through life aimlessly, and his girlfriend recognizes that he's not really an overachiever or an achiever of any sort, so she dumps him because she doesn't want to drift along aimlessly with him. And the very next day, they find themselves in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, and Shaun has got to buckle down and try to save the day. Now, the basic outline is kind of bare bones compared to what the actual movie is, but the story itself gives way for a lot of plot to come through. Like, it's an average Joe trying to save his friends from the zombie apocalypse. Somebody like you or me, just a regular everyday person trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, and there's no heroisms or anything like that. It's a great movie. If you have not seen it, stop watching this right now. Go on Amazon, rent it, and check it out because it is one of those films that is absolutely amazing. So up next on my list of positives is the cinematography. The cinematography in this film is absolutely beautiful. I love the way that Edgar Wright frames a shot. I also just love Edgar Wright as a cinematographer as well. I love the way that he punches in spots, and I love how much energy he creates within his films. I also love the way he mirrored a couple shots in this film. Like, there's a scene in this movie where Shaun goes to the shop, and then the next day he goes into the shop again, and there's chaos all around him. The zombie apocalypse has already started. Absolutely brilliant filmmaking. I love everything about the cinematography in this film. There's not a bad angle that was shot. There's not any questionable shots. Everything was meticulously planned out, and it very much shows in this movie. Not only do we get a great story, we also get expert masterclass cinematography, and that's also paired up with the next positive, which is the dialogue. I think the dialogue in this film is amazing. Like, the script writers did a flawless job at writing down all of the dialogue and making it match up later on in the film. We get a lot of repetitive lines, but they're in different context every time. Just for a small example, we've got Shaun and Ed playing video games, and they say this.
Listen, all top left. I was going to say, reload. I'm on it. Since...
Oh, sorry, Shaun.
And that dialogue comes back later at the pub whenever they say this.
Top left! Reload! I'm on it! Nice shot.
And there is so many instances of that throughout the movie. I think this is genius dialogue writing. I think this is genius story writing at that. Like, you know, I love everything about the dialogue in this film because there's a lot of full circle moments. Like, you won't catch it the first time you watch it, but on subsequent viewings you see everything kind of come back together and do the full circle, and I think it's just absolutely genius the way that they tackled everything. And you know, you watch it again and there's so many aha moments in this film, and it's just love it. I absolutely love it. Honestly, Shaun of the Dead is a masterclass in a lot of things. Masterclass cinematography, masterclass dialogue, masterclass storytelling. Like, I can't think of another movie that goes into that level of detail in storytelling other than other Edgar Wright films. But this film's dialogue was masterfully crafted, and you know, the story also masterfully crafted, held together with great cinematography. And you know, we're going to go into the next positive, because the next thing that really sells this movie is the cast. Every single person in this film is amazing. There are no shitty characters. There's no bad acting in this film as well. And the thing that I really love about this movie is that everybody that's on screen at any given time brings something to the table, and it's perfectly balanced out in every single scene. When Shaun and Ed are on the camera together and they're being goofy, they're very much bringing the comedy. They always have somebody to counteract that comedy with, you know, a little bit of downerisms or whatever. When they're at home goofing around, you've got Pete, who is, you know, a very serious kind of prick. When they're at the Winchester, you've got David and Diane to balance out the goofiness with some seriousness. In every scene in this movie, when there are multiple people on screen, it is always perfectly balanced. You've got perfectly balanced humor with perfectly balanced seriousness, and it just never feels unbalanced in any scene that I can think of. I mean, I just watched this before shooting this. Absolutely, like, Shaun of the Dead could definitely be like a masterclass type of film that film students everywhere should check out, just because everything is so masterfully done in this film. It's just amazing, and I'm going to continue gushing about this. Everybody brings something to the table and everybody does their best. It's not too crowded, so nobody outshines anybody else, and everybody gets their own time, and it all works out really well and is just brilliantly done. I think that this is one of the greatest movies of all time, in my opinion. I think that this film is perfectly balanced in every way, shape, and form. And like I said in the intro, this is more of a comedy, so that leads us into our next positive, which is the humor. Now, I personally love British humor. As a matter of fact, I watch quite a bit of British television simply because of the humor. Like a lot of British panel shows and game shows, like, you know, I Literally Just Told You, Big Fat Quiz of the Year, Taskmaster is my favorite of all time. It's one of the greatest shows ever made, and I will fight you tooth and nail if you try to say otherwise. And a lot of my favorite stand-up comedians are British, like, you know, James Acaster, Greg Davies, Ricky Gervais, Jimmy Carr. A lot of my favorite comedians that do stand-up are British, and I love the British sense of humor, and there's a lot of it on full force in this film. And before watching this again, I had forgotten a lot of the jokes and a lot of the humor that were in this film, and then I watched it again and it just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Call him, you know what?
Oh, what, did he tell you that?
Yes, he did.
Motherfucker.
Shaun.
Sorry, Mother. Mum. Look, Mum. Did you know that on several occasions he touched me? That wasn't true. Made it up. Shouldn't have done. Sorry.
Just how insanely funny this movie is, and, you know, I had a blast watching this. I had a blast watching it a second time, too, because, you know, the second viewing is whenever I start writing down my positives and negatives, and, yeah, it's still very, very funny. Even watching it back to back the way I did. And I love the way that they balanced humor and like genuine dread. Let's go ahead and lead that into our next positive, which is going to be the gore. Now, the gore in this film is done pretty well. With everything else going for it, they definitely could have like eased up on any gore or any blood effects, but they went full tilt with this film on the gore effects. Like when Ed gets bit, when Philip gets bit, and we see chunks of meat coming off of them. Absolutely amazing. Like, you could have definitely cheesed that a little bit, but they didn't, and I respect the hell out of them for that. And not to mention the best death in this film, which is David whenever he gets torn into pieces in front of the window, in front of everybody. Mwah. Chef's kiss, and definitely my favorite kill in this entire film. Now, where they could have cut corners on the gore, I am so very glad that they didn't, because there's genuinely some good, amazing, practical deaths in this film, and, you know, I applaud it. Again, like I applaud everything else about this movie. And even though I'm not a big CGI kill guy, like even those were done really well. Like when Mary comes up off of the pipe and you see Shaun and Ed through her stomach, the effects on that hold up surprisingly well. And so do some of the shots to the head that some of the zombies take. Some of those were done with CGI, but you know, unless you're pixel peeping like I was, you'd be hard pressed to find it. I think the gore and I think the kills in this film were all done very effectively. Like everything else in this film, everything was done absolutely masterfully. Hats off to you, Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, for creating such an amazing horror comedy. And since I mentioned some of the zombies in here, let's go ahead and move on to my next positive, which is the zombies.
Don't say that. What? That? What? That? The Z word. Don't say it. Why not? Because it's ridiculous.
Now, even though these are slow-paced zombies, I personally prefer the faster, hauling ass type of zombies. The zombies in this film actually work. You needed to have slow zombies for everything, like the comedy to land and the situations to be as effective as they were. And for slow zombies, these zombies are pretty great. I also like that they aren't in a state of decay already, and that's a great zombie game if you've never played it. State of Decay, check it out. It drives me crazy in a zombie film whenever the infection happens and there are already like rotted zombies, and it doesn't make sense to me because it literally happened the day before. Why are they already in that much decomposition? The zombies in this one, you know, it's like they got the white face powder, a little bit of dead vein work, and white contacts. They all have white eyes, and some of them have a little bit of blood, others don't. You know, it all depends on where they were attacked. But I do enjoy the zombies in this film. I like how they look. I like that they're not overly rotted. I like that, you know, you could definitely tell they all died the day before, and they're not all overly decayed. And yeah, definitely a positive. Love the zombies in this film. And it's time to switch out batteries. 1 second. And now for the final positive, and that's going to be, it's heart-wrenching. There are scenes in this movie that genuinely choked me up. Just absolutely like a gut punch. Like the scene where Philip is in the back seat dying and he finally tells Shaun that, you know, he loves him as his own child, and then promptly dies in the back seat. Genuinely heart-wrenching. That scene genuinely brought a tear to my eye. I don't remember that ever making me cry before, but, you know, here recently, I guess I've been kind of a softie or whatever. And then there's also the scene where, you know, Shaun's mom dies, and that is also very, very heart-wrenching and very, very sad. Very much choked up both times that I watched it. I watched it back to back, and it got me both times. It really just, right in my feelings. Yeah, just genuinely sad moments in this film. And again, also whenever Ed dies and, you know, Shaun and Ed are saying their goodbyes to each other, That also very, very much hit me in my heart. You know, for all the laughs that we had in this film, for all the moments of genuine terror, we also get moments of genuine sadness. This film is an emotional roller coaster, and it's one that I would buy a ticket to ride every single day. Like, by the time I was done watching this for the review, I was both in shambles. I was happy, I was sad, I was laughing my ass off, and it's an emotional roller coaster for sure, but it's an amazing one. It's genuinely beautiful at times and genuinely terrifying at other times, and it's such a good movie. Go check it out if you haven't already, because I mean, my God. So that concludes my positives list. Now it's time that we move on to the negatives. So now it's time we talk about the first negative on my list, which is there isn't any. No, there is no negatives to this movie at all. I watched it twice, looking for something that bugged me the second time, and nothing about this film bugged me at all. This is one of those rare instances where we have a perfect score. I am giving this film 10 out of 10. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. And I really did put an effort into trying to find something that bugged me, and nothing bugged me. There wasn't even any like sort of little thing that peeved me in the slightest. There was nothing in this film that rubbed me the wrong way. I feel like everything in this film was done masterfully. I think it's a perfect movie. It was perfectly written, it was perfectly shot, it was perfectly executed by the actors. Everything about this movie is absolutely perfect. So with all of that being said, that is just about going to do it for me. I absolutely love this film, and it's hard to believe that it has been 20 years since it was released. I was still in school whenever this came out, and it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. At the time of recording this, next month they are doing a re-release in theaters for the celebration of the 20th anniversary of this film, and I highly recommend you guys go check it out. I saw this movie whenever I was a kid. I saw it in the theaters, and it was an amazing experience. I also watched a re-release of this film at a drive-in, and that was also an amazing experience. So if you've not watched this movie in the theater before, I highly recommend doing so while you have the chance. It's a great time, and in my opinion, again, it is a perfect film. And that's just gonna about do it for me. If you liked the video, let me know by leaving me a like. Comment down below what you want to see on the channel next. I will do my best to accommodate. And until next time, my name is Nightshade. This has been The Night Shift, and I will see you in the next video. You got some red on you. Stay spooky, my friends. You know, not too long ago, I got into a pretty heated debate over zombies, like the fast-moving zombies and the slow-moving zombies. Like I said earlier in the review, I prefer the faster zombies because it's genuinely more terrifying. You know, not the thought of running from zombies, but the thought of just running in general. I hate physical activity. And I got a bad ankle and a bad knee from a car accident, so, you know, the idea of running, ugh, that is terrifying. But, you know, the heated debate ended up being over, like, the probability of there being fast zombies. Because, you know, the argument was made that, well, the muscles are rotting away, and therefore there would never be, fast reanimated corpses of zombies running after you and chasing you. They all have to be slow. And my defense to that was, it's just movies, man. It's all make-believe. None of this thing's gonna happen, so please don't come at me with the probability of there being fast zombies at all. And plus, you know, like, what, 28 days later, there's the rage virus, where they're not really zombies, they're just kind of ravenous human beings. Or like in the movie Record, where it's just like a mutated species of rabies that's making everybody act like zombies, even though I guess technically they're not undead, they just have a bad case of rabies. Yeah, it's all pretend and make-believe. None of these things are real. And so don't come at me with statistics and facts. Let me have my movies. I don't know. I really don't like buzzkills like that. It just rubbed me the wrong way. So I was just being nuh-uh. But if you're still watching, comment down below spooky waffles, just so I can know that you are a real one for watching this far into the video. All right, I'm out. Spooky waffles, everyone.